Hey friends, welcome to YouTube's favorite underground climbing channel. I'm your host, Joshua Perry. So anyway, welcome to today's episode. Today I'm going to show you how to pimp your hangboard one more time with this cool modification. Some of you guys sent me a message saying, Josh, I can't even do a pull-up. So today I'm going to show you a way to modify your hangboard so even you could do a pull-up if you can't. And for more experienced climbers, you could do a pull-up on smaller holds and eventually get onto really tiny stuff and train in a way where you'd be less likely to injure yourself because you'd be slowly progressing up to smaller holds. So, and also it's cool modification to add other things. You'll see. Anyway, it's cool. It's so cool. It's so dope. You're gonna, okay. Okay, don't mind the shakiness. I'm hand holding this. I don't have a gimbal yet for this camera. Leave a like and maybe one day I'll get a gimbal. So anyway, before I get really into it, I want to explain the basic features of this hangboard and how to install one in case you're brand new to the game. So anyway, this could be either a 1/2 inch or 3/4. Maybe you'd want to match it to the width of this if you want to be snazzy. And then once that's screwed into all the beams, you have a sturdy anchor to add your hangboard, and you don't have to worry about getting these screws that are in the hangboard exactly matched up with the beams in the back. You just have to worry about matching up that plywood, and then you could just use stickers to cover up all those holes and for screw holes or whatever. That looks really snazzy. So this is our basis. This is the base to our project, and we're gonna add a modification. So I'll explain that more in a minute. Well, as we go, I guess. Let's do it. Okay, so welcome to the underside of the hangboard. So what we're gonna wanna do is drill a pilot hole right in the middle, right here. And then I got this beefy eye screw, and I'm gonna screw it in there. The reason why you definitely wanna do a pilot hole is you'll never be able to screw this in, first off, but secondly, if you don't, you're gonna end up, this is gonna be turning into a wedge and you'll end up splitting it. So you definitely wanna do the right sized drill bit for your screw. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna just drill straight up. Now, if you want to make this so it's going straight up and not at an angle, what you do is you just get really good, okay? Stop being a loser. just eyeball it and screw up and you should be fine. Okay. I guess you really don't want to screw up, but I guess you do want to screw up. Also, it's a good idea to have some safety glasses on because you're looking straight up and you don't want a bunch of sawdust going into your eyeballs. Okay, so let's do this thing. If you're worried about what drill bit size to use, you should probably just grab a piece of wood, a scrap piece of wood, and drill into there and see how this screw bites into that piece of wood, and it should be about as big as the shaft of the screw, not the threads. And once you got that, it's a good size. I think this is perfect. I'm going to need a tool though to tighten this up. Okay, I'll grab something so I could spin it around, and if you do it wrong, then your hangboard is going to be creaking, like it's opening some kind of crack or something. So if your drill bit's definitely too small, you're going to be hearing some cracking, which is no good. You don't want to go any more than that. Definitely back off the screw and put a little bit bigger of a bit in there. But this looks right on. And you may be wondering, how much weight can that hold? Well, it'd probably pull off the screw bolts out of the wall first. I don't even know. I'd guess about 10 kilonewtons or close to 2,000 pounds or something. So it'd be a fun thing to test. Not on my hangboard though. Okay, so anyway, let's get this screwed as much as we can. So we've added our modification, and now it's time to show you how the magic happens. We're going to use this weight, which is 100 pounds, and the harder it is for you to do a pull-up, the heavier the weight you want. And that's because we're going to be using a simple pulley setup to help us do a pull-up. And I'll show you how to set that up. But first we have to deal with this weight. And there's two ways to attach this weight. You're either going to want to use a sling, or you could tie directly into the end of the rope using, I would recommend using a follow-through overhand. So you basically just make an overhand knot here, like that. Throw that over there. And then just, as it's called, just follow it through. And then, once that's completed, that would be good if it's cinched up real tight. And I'm not going to clean that up for sake of time, but you'd want this cinched up super tight, right down to the bar so it can't pop off or anything like that. And it's good to have at least 10 times the amount of diameter of the rope so you have some tail. That's always the recommended way to do it. You'd want a lot of tail, that way the tail can't pop through. And you'd want this cinched up so there's no space here at all. Okay, so that's the weight. I'm going to use a sling, and when you attach a sling, you want to grab the webbing here and do a little bite of rope there. That way you have this part of the webbing. And this part of the webbing is stiff because this is where the seam is. And you don't want this part getting all tangled up. So you start with this end, you grab this end here, and then you just girth hitch it. And you could just go a bunch of times. And if you go a bunch of times, it's going to eat up all that slack because you don't want a lot of slack. You want as least amount of slack as possible. And you could do it this way, and then you'd be able to attach like a locking beaner. And then if you attach a locking beaner, you could quickly add this weight on and off the system and add a different weight if you want to keep reducing it. You can add the slings onto each weight you have. This method, you're tied directly in, and once this gets weighted, it's really hard to untie. So you could probably put a bowline in there, on there too, cinch it up real tight. That's another knot you could use. All those knots are on my channel, obviously. But this method, it's a little bit more time consuming, taking it on and off. Okay, you get the picture. So that's the weight part of it. Now let's go to the pulley setup. Okay, so now that we got our weight set up, you're gonna need a couple things. I suggest you have a crash pad or a mat or something for your weight to rest on, because that's a pretty heavy weight. Josh, why aren't you using like a 20-pound weight or like a 30-pound weight? It's easier to handle. Well, I'm kind of trying to imagine a scenario where I'm like a really weak person, maybe like a 100-pound person or something that can't do a pull-up and needs a lot of help. Maybe like, okay, I guess 100 pounds wouldn't be practical. Maybe heavier person or something and needs a lot more weight off. Maybe like a 250-pound person needs 100 pounds off of them. So I'm going to try to do it with a 100-pound weight. It's definitely going to be more difficult than adding something like 30 pounds. So this is going to be a lot easier for you if you have like a pulley or something. So this is like a catch and retrieve, but any kind of pulley would work. I don't want to say any kind of pulley. You don't want a chintzy, weak pulley from Home Depot that can't handle the weight. You'd want something that's certified to handle a good amount of weight, a nice decent climbing pulley, I guess. But you don't need one that's like this mini traction. You could use one of those micro tractions too. So let's hook this up. I'll show you how I rig it. Let's get right into it. So it's gonna go right into here. Gonna hook right on there. Then we got our climber rope. Our retired climb rope is making another comeback in this episode. We're gonna feed that through the pulley. And I'm going to do an overhand right here at about shoulder level. So let's do that. Just an overhand knot. Just like that. So that's our overhand knot. And then with that all the way up there, I'm going to want another one right here to hook up to my harness. So when I'm all the way up here, the weight's not hitting the ground. It's right about there and right about here. So that looks about right. So let's do an overhand right there. So now we got two overhands. The weight's not going to be hitting the ground. And it'll be pulling me up a bit. So this would be the hard part for anybody that's very weak. I guess what you would need is maybe a stool or something to get this weight up onto first. If you can haul it up, then that's good. And that knot there should hold the weight. So if it's like this, we'll hook it up like this. So that knot should stop the weight from falling down, because that's like a stopper knot. So all we gotta do is worry about clipping it on there. And the good thing about not tying straight into there is we don't have to worry about, you know, picking this weight up and then tying that. We just clip right into it. So we grab our locking beaner, pick our weight up, just clip, and we're done. Now we just have to get this down and clip it into us. So let's clip that on there. Let's pick this up. Heave. Okay. Let's see if I can make that easier. Put this on my shoulder. Well, it's heavy. Man. There's got to be an easier way to do this. Let's figure it out. Okay, so since this is a catch and retrieve system, we're going to use it. So what we're going to do is we're going to actuate it. And then now I can pull up and it's not going anywhere because it's catching and retrieving the weight. You see, now it's holding the weight for me. So as I pick it up, I can pull on this and it'll go higher and higher. And I don't want to chock a block or get the knot stuck right up against the pulley. I want a couple more inches so I could easily release it. So right about there is about as far as I want to go. And now we just clip in there. Now I could pull my weight on there, pick it up some more, and then release it. So now we're fully engaged. And you could do this with your micro tracks too, but if it's altered the way I alter it, you're not gonna be able to do that. So now I have a counterweight, and I could do pinky pull-ups, just like that. Or I don't know, I probably could still even do one finger mono pull-ups, but without the weight. But look, I'm about, what am I, 100 pounds? Look at this. This weight's not even going down. So you could do this with less weight, obviously. It'd make it a lot easier. You wouldn't have to be so, it wouldn't be so difficult the way I just made it look so difficult. But yeah, you can practice your one arms, just like that, and do sets. Boop. So that's a simple way to do your first pull-up. And then you could slowly decrease the weight as you train. This thing's getting away from me. Now, when you're using really heavy weights like this, there's obviously a lot of risk. If that thing pops, you know, which it shouldn't, because that thing could hold probably 2,000 pounds, but if something ever failed, you don't want this heavy weight landing on your floor, or worse, your feet. So, or worse, on your dog's head or your kid's head or something like that. So always make sure things are clear in case some kind of catastrophe happens, and then you should be okay. Man, I can't even go down. Boy, oh boy, what am I, 100 pounds? While we're here, I may as well show you how you get out of it. So let's pull it all the way up, pretty high, like there, as high as we could reach. Let's connect it in so it's got the progress captured again. Let's unclip it. And then what we could do is we could tie a munter on it and belay it down. So do a munter hitch, then flip the munter hitch, flip the munter hitch, flip the munter hitch, flip the munter hitch. Okay, forget the munter hitch. Like I was saying, you grab your gree-gree, and then we could belay it down. So let's, okay, now let's get the weight off of that, pick it up a bit, disconnect that, and now we could just belay our weight down like that. Bada boom, bada bing. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the most complicated way to do your first pull-up. So other cool features is we could add cool additions now to this thing. So now we could add little black balls onto our climbing hangboard and all kinds of different things. So that's pretty cool for more advanced people. We can add more things. The options are just endless. The imagination is your limitation. Anything you could dream of. Come with me and you'll be. Here's another setup for our more advanced users. We're gonna add a daisy chain right here. And what we're gonna do is gonna add a daisy chain there. Then we're going to lift this up so it's about maybe couple inches off the ground. Then we're going to add this to the daisy chain. So basically now we could train the opposite way and we could pull up an extra 100 pounds. And when we come back down, our weight isn't going to be hitting the ground, making dents and all kinds of other things. Just like that. So now we can keep doing 100-pound pull-ups and we don't have to worry about that thing hitting the ground, hitting the ground, hitting the ground. Okay, so that about wraps it up. One other thing I'd like to add is having a, what, these holes are spinning on me. Another cool thing about it is you could practice clipping in to quick draws and stuff. So since while you do your pull-ups, you could also train grabbing your rope and clipping in, which is like a essential skill. You could clip in that way, and then you could practice clipping in the other way, and also unclipping and stuff like that. So that's back clipped. But so you could practice coming in, not back clipping. So that's another feature that's nice about having something where you can clip in. You could do a couple pull-ups, unclip, you know, practice clipping back in while you're pumped. And that's a pretty cool feature of having that there too. So that about wraps it up. Josh Perry climbing out of here. Let me know if I've lost my mind on this one or made that too complicated. Hopefully we could explain, or I don't know, maybe we could talk about how crazy I am. Maybe I lost my mind or something. Down in the comment section down below. This quarantine, I think, has got to me. But at least a lot of content's coming out of it. So Josh Perry climbing out of here. See you guys next week's episode. Don't pay attention to the man behind the curtain.
What is wrong with me? Do I care too carefully? What is wrong with me?